Hey, how's it going today, YouTube? Coming at you with the video on a topic that I wish I had looked into more when I first started playing Overwatch. It's following my latest video, the Roadhog main video, and this is just an overarching discussion on choosing your main in Overwatch. Obviously, this applies more to newer players that don't understand that maybe how the game is played as much, or maybe just think, oh, I'll play a new character every game. And obviously, this also only applies to people that are looking to play on maybe more of a competitive level. I'm not talking professionally, obviously, I'm not even close to that level, but if you want to play in comp matches and feel like you're not going to lose all of them, you're going to have some mains that you play. You can't just really pick a random character every game, right? And this is just kind of give everybody an idea of what they may want to play, what their play style kind of leads to, and how they can help their team too if they pick the correct characters. First thing I would say is if you're new to the game, man, you should go into the character screen and just look at all of them. Just read on their skills. Think of the type of player you want to be, and then get an idea of, okay, who's going to fill that role. I'm going to look, this guy that has this skills. Am I going to play defense? Do I want these skills? Do I want to be able to just, run into the enemy team and create havoc? Those are all ideas that you can get from reading on all the different heroes. But specifically, I want to say, if you're looking to kind of like defend your team, take the hits. You're obviously going to want to pick something out of the tank category. You got the Diva, Reinhardt, you got Roadhog, Winston, and Zarya. And each one of them kind of fills a different defensive role. So you have to look at all their different abilities to get an idea of which role you would like to play. Like a Zarya, for example, she can shield herself and she can shield one teammate at the same time. And that kind of allows her to play kind of an offensive tank is what I would call it. And that's different than like a Reinhardt who holds his shield up and protects the team, and he's more of a defensive tank in my mind because he's just keeping people from taking damage more than actually getting out there and swinging his hammer. And again, you're gonna have to look at all the different heroes to get an idea of which would kind of fill your play style. Next, you got your offense, DPS. I say offense DPS because you also have the defense category, but they also fill a DPS category, but they're kind of played differently. So you got your offense DPS, which is Pharah, McCree, Genji, Tracer, Reaper, and Soldier. And of course, each of them, they're kind of more mobile DPS. Get behind the enemy lines, kind of like mess up the enemy team, pick off healers, like Tracer's got her blink ability, so she can get in behind the team and take out healers and get out. Reaper, he can teleport to areas that allow him to get behind the enemy team and kind of be a little more offensive with the DPS. And then you've got the defensive DPS, which I would consider them the less mobile DPS. You've got like Bastion, Hanzo, Junkrat, Mei, Torb, and Widowmaker. And while all of those guys put out a lot of DPS, like Widowmaker, for example, I mean, her headshots will one-shot most characters in the game that aren't tanks. But she doesn't really move around a lot, and if somebody gets up and close to her, she's obviously going to have a harder time to get a kill. So she's going to have her different, play style than getting behind the enemy team because you're more sitting behind your team dishing out the damage. You got the Bastion. I mean, his main ability is turning into a moving turret. I mean, it's pretty simple. He just fires off damage, but he kind of sits in one spot with it, right? So you're not going to really want to play him on offense. You can, but and of course his new changes coming up may change obviously how he's played. So that's another thing you have to keep in mind is these things can change as the meta changes, as different heroes are given new abilities. All this kind of changes, and these are all relative to my opinion also. And then you've got your support, and the support is not just healing. A lot of people always think support is healing when you think of like different games. When you think of MMOs, typically your supports are your healers, but in this game I actually like how they kind of have a mixture. You've got your kind of few set healers. You got your Lucio, your Mercy, their major healing, and then Zenyatta can heal while also putting out a lot of damage. He has ability that heals one hero at a time, but he can also put an orb on the enemy team that makes them take extra damage. So they're not just focused on. I mean, they are focused on helping their team, but they can also do other things besides just sitting there and healing. They're more active than that. I mean, especially Lucio. He's able to climb walls, get around checkpoints. He's got an ability that allows to knock people off maps if you're on a map that has an edge. His heal is an overarching heal. Then you got like the Mercy. Her heal is very specific, very strong, but she can only heal one hero at a time. But then you've got her ultimate that can, you can raise the whole team from the dead. So, that play style with her is you're going to focus on one person, get your ultimate up, and then you're going to kind of play back behind the enemy line, so that way when your team dies, you can res them, right? So that's different than the Lucio that's going to be in the thick of the damage. He's going to be jumping around, putting out his own damage, healing the team, creating havoc. So there's definitely a huge diversity in this game, I think, of who you can play, and that's why it's so important that you take a look and say, hey, this is kind of what I want to play. I want to mess up the team. I want to defend my team. And in my opinion, you're going to want to pick one or two people from each of these categories if you really want to be, if you want to move up in the competitive ranks in this game, because one, obviously you have the chance that somebody else is going to pick the hero you like to play. And two, I mean, team comps just change. You got to be willing to change. So if you only main one hero, you're probably not going to do too well. I mean, you'll have your games that go great, and then you're going to have your games that go terrible. But if you're able to pick, one or two from each category, it's a lot easier to adapt. If someone on your team can fill a role, like let's say they can only fill a DPS role, but you can fill any of the roles, well, then that way you can give them DPS, and you can just take the tank role, and your team has a lot better chance of winning. And you'll just, when you play, I know everybody likes to be able to play any hero, and be good at it, but the point is there's too many heroes, and you're not going to be good at all of them. So to me personally, I feel better when I get good with the characters I like to play with, so that when I'm playing them, I know I'm going to help my team. I know I'm going to be, it's going to be a fun game, because even if I lose, I know I played it well. Whereas if I'm just playing a random hero and I'm getting smashed, my team's getting smashed, I'm hating it, So I definitely like to focus on my mains. And just to give an example, my mains, typically I run Reinhardt. I used to play D.Va a little more. She got nerfed in last patch, so if I have to play another tank, I'll normally go to Zarya, which I like playing her a lot too. And then in DPS, of course, you got Soldier. I play Soldier just because he's really easy. You don't have to put a lot of time into him. Pretty easy character to play. And then I've been trying to get better at Tracer to fill, my second pick in the DPS category. And then in the defensive DPS, I like to play Mei. And I used to play Torb a lot, but I haven't really played a lot of the defensive DPS, because I typically, if I am DPS, I do the offensive DPS, or I'm just supporting. And then in the support category, Lucio's my favorite by far. Terrible with Zenyatta, so I don't ever pick him, So that's a good example. I wanted to play him, but I just wasn't good with him. So I gave up and I moved over, and I just used Mercy as my second in that category, So I just, I felt like it made a difference in my gameplay once I started focusing on those few characters instead of trying to play everything. And I've definitely been moving up. I barely didn't make Diamond this last time, sorry guys, and that's because I solo queue. But I'm sure I'll definitely make Diamond, and I think I can make Master in this next upcoming patch, or this upcoming competitive season. And if you guys are interested in playing with me, leave a note down below, guys. I'm on every night playing this game, so if you want to, definitely. My gamer tag is Consortium Gamer. Definitely send me a message, or if you leave your gamer tag, I'll add you and get you in my group, and we'll play. And I appreciate you guys stopping by my video, and I hope you guys have a good one.